You're listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum, recorded from a secret location in the city that moves mountains.
Hello everyone, and welcome to HereToChewBubblegum.com. I am your host, Goose. This is our first show. We have some exciting things planned for you throughout the show. We hope that you'll be a weekly listener after this first show. You can always give us some feedback. Be sure to check out our website, HereToChewBubblegum.com. You can email us at HereToChewBubblegum@yahoo.com. You can also call or text us or leave us a voicemail at area code 606-373-3396. That's area code 606-373-3396. Again, my name is Goose, and I want to thank you once again for being here for our pilot show. Given a brief update on the week, this week has been very, very busy. We did our midweek update on Wednesday. We put that out on anchor.fm. You can check that out over at anchor.fm/HereToChewBubblegum. You can also find us on the following platforms. Those platforms are, you can find us on Google Podcast, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. We will be coming soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, to iTunes and other platforms. If you have a specific platform that you like and it was not listed, please get in contact with us, and we will make sure that we're added on that platform as well. Again, after the midweek show kind of blew up, I really didn't expect it to, but we got a lot of feedback, and I'm very grateful for that. Everybody at HereToChewBubblegum.com is very grateful for that. Yesterday, I received an email on my personal Facebook page from a friend of mine who said that he tried to email me through the website and for some reason wasn't able to. Well, we've got several emails over the last week, and most of those have been from people from other countries. And I contacted our web host, and they put me in contact with people at Microsoft. And for some reason, the only emails that we are receiving right now at our show, at our .com emails, are ones from a different country. Hopefully this problem will be fixed very soon, but until then, be sure to email us at HereToChewBubblegum@yahoo.com. That's HereToChewBubblegum@yahoo.com. And like I said, you can also text us or leave us a voicemail, area code 606-373-3396. It's area code 606-373-3396. Well, let's not waste any more time and get the show underway. If you listen to the midweek show, we talked about the subjects that we're going to discuss in this week. We're also going to have an interview coming up in the second half of the show. We're going to be discussing two UFO incidents that happened in my home state, the state of Kentucky. And the first one we're going to talk about in Kentucky happened in 1948. It is known as the Mantell UFO Incident. On January 7th, 1948, Captain Thomas F. Mantell left the Godman Army Airfield to investigate a massive circular object that was spotted hovering at an extreme altitude near Madisonville, Kentucky. Eyewitnesses described the object as around 300 feet in diameter, possibly metallic, and it had a trailing of a green mist coming from the back. One observer claimed that it briefly descended before shooting upward to its original height at a speed greater than 500 miles an hour. Mantell pursued the UFO in an F-51D Mustang to an altitude of more than 25,000 feet before presumably losing consciousness due to lack of oxygen. Sadly, his plane crashed near Franklin, Kentucky, and the object disappeared soon after. Robert T. Miller was monitoring Mantell's radio talk from the Scott Air Force Base in nearby Illinois and claims he heard Mantell clearly exclaim, "My God, I see people in this thing." Again, this incident happened on January 7th, 1948. Thomas F. Mantell was 25 years old at the time. He was a Kentucky Air National Guard pilot. Sadly, he died in that pursuit of the UFO. This event was among the most publicized and early UFO events. This was later investigated by the United States Air Force Project Blue Book, and it indicated that Mantell may have died chasing a skyhook balloon, which in 1948 was a top-secret project that Mantell would not have known about. Mantell pursued the object in a steep climb and disregarded suggestions to level his altitude. At high altitude, he blacked out from lack of oxygen, and his plane went down. In 1956, Air Force Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, the first head of Project Blue Book, wrote that the Mantell crash was one of 3 classic UFO cases in 1948 that would help define and shape the UFO phenomenon and the public mind. It would also help convince some Air Force intelligence specialists that UFOs were real, that they were physical, and there is other sightings as well that are reported in Project Blue Book. Historian David M. Jacobs argues that Mantell caused a sharp shift in both public and governmental perceptions of UFOs. The news media often treated UFOs reports with a whimsical or glim altitude reserved for silly people, silly news. Following Mantell's death, however, Jacobs noted that the fact that a person had died in an encounter with an alleged flying saucer dramatically increased public concern, and now a new prospect entered throughout the UFOs. They might not only be extraterrestrial, but potentially hostile as well. The Mantell Incident, as I said earlier, is one of the earliest UFO incidences to attract widespread public attention. It is considered one of the classic UFO incidences from the late 1940s. The Mantell UFO incident was also featured in the 1956 quasi-documentary Unidentified Flying Objects, the true story of flying saucers. The Mantell crash was investigated by several agencies. Project Sign was the first Air Force research group assigned to investigate UFOs. Mantell, like I said, unfortunately passed away in this pursuit. Some people think that the skyhook balloon explanation is preposterous. Others dispute the idea, saying that no particular skyhook balloon could be convincingly identified as being an object in question during Mantell's pursuit. And keep in mind, this guy, Thomas Mantell, was an experienced pilot, highly decorated. Somewhere in the archives of the Air Force or the Navy, there are records that will show whether or not a balloon was launched from Clinton County Air Force Base on Ohio on January 7, 1948. As of now, those records have not been found. People who were working on the skyhook theory wonder why. The Mantell incident is the same. The story from eyewitnesses have stayed the same throughout the years. A little background on Captain Thomas Francis Mantell Jr. He was born June 30th, 1922, passed away January 7th, 1948. He was a United States Air Force officer and a World War II veteran. Mantell was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for courageous action during Operation Market Garden. Mantell graduated from the Male High School in Louisville on June 16, 1942, and joined the Army Air Corps shortly thereafter. He finished flight school in 1943, and during World War II, he was a C-47 Skytrain pilot assigned to the 97th Troop Carrier Squadron. Mantell, like I said, was highly decorated. On September 29th, 2001, the Simpson County Historical Society unveiled a historical marker in honor of Thomas Mantell in his hometown of Franklin. The marker is located at the exit off Interstate 65. Roswell happened shortly before that, and this is an incident that I had heard about several years ago, and have always been fascinated by it. Sadly, for us as a state and country, we lost Thomas Mantell, a great American who defended his country with pride and honor. But at the same time, it also makes you think and realize that if a pilot who is trained in pursuits, who fought in the war, who knows aircraft, he would definitely know the difference between a weather balloon, even if it was top secret. And from what he said when his transmissions were overheard, my God, there's people in this thing. It has to be something there that he had never saw before in all of his experience as a pilot. Now, several months ago, the United States government finally released footage going back to the early 2000s, I think 2003, of craft that they say is not from this planet. It's not man-made. So, number one, if it's not man-made, then what is it? All right, number two, why is the government suddenly opening up a little bit? Are they preparing the American people to see how they deal if they do disclose that UFOs and alien life are real? I myself have saw a unidentified flying object. It happened back in the 1990s over a lake, and I've never saw anything like that before. It wasn't in the air very long. It was chevron-shaped. It had several different colored lights on it, and still to this day, I have no idea what that is. Speaking of some UFO encounters, before we get to our next story, we had some viewers, or listeners rather, that emailed us and shared some of their stories with us from our website. This first one comes from Molek998. He's from England. And he says, July of this year, he was sitting outside stargazing in the early hours of the morning, talking to someone on the phone, when all of a sudden in the sky, from the corner of his eye, he saw a tiny speck of light. So he looked over, and it expanded, and it stopped. And in the center was a flat black square. It stayed there from what seemed like 30 or more seconds. Then the light closed in on itself slowly, and the square and the light vanished completely. That happened in England. We also had another viewer from Canada, Num7, emailed and said he thought he saw a UFO once. It was a light moving pretty fast in the sky. He's not clear whether it was a plane or a bird. It wasn't that high. It was silent. It wasn't a drone either. Those weren't common back in those days. Still to this day, he is unsure on what he saw. We have some listener email that we'll be getting to momentarily. But if you would like to contact us, all you have to do is send us an email at heretochewbubblegum@yahoo.com. That's heretochewbubblegum@yahoo.com. You can always text us at area code 606-373-3396. That's area code 606-373-3396. You can also leave us a voicemail at that number, and we'll play it on the air. If you would like for us to put you on the air, we will call you back when we tape the show. Again, our show is new. This is our pilot show, and you can catch us out over at anchor.fm/heretochewbubblegum.com. That's anchor.fm/heretochewbubblegum.com. You can also catch us on Google Podcast, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and Public Radio. And we're adding more platforms soon. If you have a favorite platform and it was not on there, please get in contact with us. Tell us to add it, and we will definitely add that. Again, our first story, recapping just a little bit, was the Mantell UFO incident. That was the first reported UFO sighting in the state of Kentucky. If you want to do a little more research on that, please feel free. Just Google Thomas F. Mantell or the Mantell UFO incident. If you have any feedback on that or want to add anything to the story, please shoot us an email. Okay, our next case also happened in Kentucky. It is known as the Stanford Abduction. On January 6, 1976, Mona Stafford was celebrating her 36-year-old birthday with friends, Louise Smith and Elaine Thomas. They decided to drive 35 miles from their home in Liberty, Kentucky, to a diner at the Redwoods restaurant that was located between Stanford and Lancaster, Kentucky. Louise Smith was driving them in her 1967 Chevy Nova. The three women had an enjoyable dinner together. None of them drank any alcoholic beverages with their meal. Around 11:15, the trio started back home, expecting to be home by midnight. At Stanford, Kentucky, 9 miles from Lancaster, they turned off Highway 27 onto Highway 78 towards Huntsville. Just outside Stanford, a curious thing happened. A bright red object appeared in the sky and caught their attention. Mona Stafford at first thought it was an airplane on fire. They observed the object descend from the right side of the road to a point ahead of them. They could see that it was not an airplane, but a huge object bigger than 2 houses. The object stopped about 100 yards ahead of them, stretching across the road on both sides. It rocked back and forth for a couple of seconds and then moved off to the left. They kept driving and assumed that whatever it was, it had kept going. However, after they had been a quarter of a mile down the road, a blue light appeared through the rear window of the car. At first, they thought it was a highway patrol car with its lights flashing, but soon they realized that the flying object had circled around and had come up behind them. Suddenly, something wrestled control of the car away from Louise Smith. The car accelerated, and Mrs. Smith took her foot off the accelerator. The speedometer soon showed 85 miles an hour. Mona Stafford in the front passenger seat tried to help Louise gain control of the car, but it was not possible. The women began to feel a burning sensation in their eyes. Ignition lights lit up instrument panels as an indication that the car's engine had stalled, but they were speeding along. They saw a wide, brightly lit road ahead of them, and then seconds later, the scene became Highway 78, and they recognized they were on the outskirts of Huntsville, a full 8 miles from where they'd just been. Checking the time, they found that incredibly, an hour and 20 minutes had passed. They arrived back at Louise Smith's trailer in Liberty at 1:25 a.m., almost an hour and a half late. They went inside to collect themselves and found that they each had red marks, like a burn, on the backs of their necks, and they all had burning, irritated eyes. Louise Smith went into the bathroom, removed her watch to wash her face. She saw that the hands of her watch were spinning at a much higher than normal rate. When she splashed water on her face, she found that contact with water caused pain in her hands and face. They went next door to the home of Mr. Loyal Lee and told him what had happened. He had them separately sketch the object they had seen. The sketches were extremely similar, if not identical. They called the police and the local Navy office, but neither showed any interest in their story. In the days that followed, Mona Stafford had more problems with her eyes than the other 2 women. She sought medical help for eye infections, and Lois Smith's parakeet was now terrified of her, and the bird died a few months later. Smith's car also began to develop mysterious electrical problems. The Navy office reportedly gave information about the story to the news media, and the story was soon in the newspapers. Hearing of the case, Jerry Black of MUFON set up an interview with the 3 women. The investigators found that with other individuals had independently reported sightings of a UFO in the Casey and Lincoln County areas the same night. Dr. R. Leo Sprinkle of the University of Wyoming heard about the case and flew in, and on March 7, 1976, he performed a preliminary hypnotic regression of the women. In July 1976, the Lexington Police Department detective James Young separately gave the three women lie detector tests regarding their experience. Guess what? All three women passed with no problems. Later that evening and continuing into the next day, extensive hypnotic regression of the women was performed by R. Leo Springler. These sessions were similar to the story of Betty and Barney Hill, and they revealed that during the period of missing time, the three women were taken aboard the object they had seen, while they were medically examined by shadowy beings that later identified as being similar to aliens. Now, this story several years ago got some, I guess, like an anniversary news media story. And a fascinating thing about this story is if you followed this, these ladies' story has not changed since they first told it in 1976. It stayed exactly the same. So that makes me think, something is really up with this, because normally if somebody tells a lie, they forget what they tell, okay? And the story may change and variate. But if you're telling the truth, your story stays the same. I think these ladies are telling the truth. I know, like I said earlier in the show, I've saw something out there. Do I ever think I've been abducted? No. I hope I don't. If I do get abducted, I hope I'm able to fight them off and gain control of the ship and stuff like that. I'm just fantasizing there. But, what's your thoughts on the Stanford abduction? Give me a call. Shoot me a text, 606-373-3396, 606-373-3396, and let me know what you think. You can always email me at heretochewbubblegum@yahoo.com. Some more listener email. I don't know why I keep saying viewer. I guess I'm used to working in film. Of course, it's been quite a while. But some more email. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Okay. Listener email. About 25 years ago, he was walking with a friend back to his house when they both seen a big blue cigar-shaped object in the sky. It seemed like it was just above the power line height. It was gone in an instant, and his friend, who never believed in anything out of the ordinary, has always brought that up, quoting, "Remember that time we saw that UFO?" Of course, our friends laughed at us. Okay, question of the week. If you were abducted by a UFO, would you let someone know about it? If you saw a UFO, would you let someone know about it? You can email me here to chewbubblegum@yahoo.com, or you can text me at area code 606-373-3396, or call and leave me a voicemail. Again, question of the week. If you were abducted or saw a UFO, would you let anyone know, or would you keep the information to yourself? A listener email, Wind7 says, a long time ago he was driving from work around 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon. He glimpsed up and saw something cylinder-shaped and metallic hovering over a field, and it was a very clear sky and calm weather. He pulled over to the side of the road as fast as he could to get a better view. With camera in hand, he got out of his car, and bam, the object was gone. No airplane, no helicopter I know of could have done that fast, he says. I'm not saying I saw aliens, but it was an unidentifiable, obviously hovering, parentheses, flying object I put on my long list of things that make me go, Thank you very much, Wind, for sending that email. Another email. We'll save the emails towards the end of the show, but you can contact us, and this is our first show. We hope you are enjoying it. We're going to step away in just a little bit for our interview with YouTube personality, star, and inventor Luke Fugate. Real quick, Some other honorable mention UFO sightings in Kentucky that you may want to check out that we will be talking about on the show in no particular order. Number one, the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblins. It happened August 21st, 1955 in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. The lights at the Big Bone Lick, Florence, Kentucky, 1974 till present. It's still going on. The Bluegrass Triangle UFO Blitz, 1978 in Central Kentucky. The Louisville UFO Dogfight, February 27th, 1993 in Louisville, Kentucky, and one that a friend of mine messaged me about, and we will do a story on this very, very soon. And this one's close to home, the Paintsville UFO/train crash that happened on January 14th, 2002, 18 years ago. We will do a story on that. We're going to step away, take a break, do some news, and then come back with the Luke Fugate interview. Thanks for tuning in and listening to HereToChewBubblegum.com. Do you have a Roku device? Do you want to escape the everyday? Then download the Edge TV. That is the Edge TV on your Roku device, spelled capital T, capital H, #3. Let James, Stacy, Greg, and the rest of the gang keep you entertained. The Edge TV, available now on Roku. HereToChewBubblegum.com presents the news. Normally, newsman Nate would be here to present the news, but he is on special assignment. And because nobody else here at the show wanted to do the news, you are stuck with me. Our first news story on August 4th, 2020, Deputy Director David L. Norquist approved the establishment of the UAPTF. This will be a joint establishment between the Department of Navy and under the Secretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security. They will lead the UAPTF. The Department of Defense established the UAPTF to improve its understanding of and gain insight into the nature and origins of UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. The mission of the task force is to detect, analyze, and catalog UAPs that could potentially pose a threat to the U.S. national security. As the Department of Defense has previously stated, the concern of our personnel and security of our operations are paramount. The Department of Defense and the military departments take any incursions of unauthorized aircraft in our training ranges or designed airspace very seriously. This includes examinations and incursions that are initially reported as UAPs, also known as UFOs, when the observer cannot immediately identify what he or she is observing. Imagine that. The U.S. government is spending tax money to examine and defend against UAPs/UFOs. Also in the news, Harry Reid makes UFO claims. The U.S. government has the key evidence of possible close encounters with UFOs and has been hiding it for years, according to Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. The 80-year-old politician claimed in a new documentary that there's more than one up there and even believes they may have interfered with American weapons. Asked if there's some evidence that still hasn't seen the light of day, Reid replied, "I'm saying most of it hasn't seen the light of day. We have it. It's there," continued the former Nevada senator. "They did everything they could to stop the program from going forward. They wanted nothing to do with this." Reid said one of the government's resistance to his program is trying to expose the truth. "Nobody has to agree with me, but shouldn't we at least be spending money to study these real phenomenons? Shouldn't we study this stuff? The answer is yes. That's what it's all about. And while the federal government all of these years has covered it up, put brake pads on everything and stopped it, I think it's very, very bad for our country," Reid said. And that's it for news. Join us next time, and hopefully Newsman Nate will be here. We'll be back right after these messages. Do you have a Roku device? Do you want to escape the everyday? Then download the Edge TV. That is the Edge TV on your Roku device, spelled capital T, capital H, number sign 3. Let James, Stacy, Greg, and the rest of the gang keep you entertained. The Edge TV, available now on Roku.
I close my eyes, you're in my head. I can't stop thinking about all those things you said. I should have known it always ends up this way.
Welcome back to HereToChewBubblegum.com. My name is Goose. I hope that you are liking the show so far. Be sure to check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Just be sure to search Here to Chew Bubblegum. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can contact us through email, HereToChewBubblegum@yahoo.com, or by text, 606-373-3396. We have an interview coming up with YouTube star, personality, inventor, and friend of mine, Luke Fugate. Before we get to that interview, I want to read a listener email describing his encounter with seeing a UFO. I saw a gigantic, glowing, rotating rectangle encased in a giant ball floating over my pond. The rectangle was clearly made from some sort of metal and had symbols on it. I watched it at 3 in the morning in total shock. Thank you, Oak Field Alien, for reaching out to us and contacting us here at HereToChewBubblegum.com and sharing your story with us. Let's get to the Luke Fugate interview right now.
Welcome back to HereToChewBubblegum.com. I'm your host, Goose, and with me is Luke Fugate. I've known Luke Fugate since we were in elementary school together. We went to separate high schools, but, we always kept in touch, and we've been friends ever since we were little. In 1990 or 91, Luke, if he'd only patented this idea, he built an automatic restart for his pickup truck. It was a remote start, and he built this in 1990 or 91, and I was always fascinated by that. Luke is one of the smartest guys that I've ever met. After high school, he joined the military, and he proudly served our country, and we're very grateful for that. Ladies and gentlemen of HereToChewBubblegum.com, I present Luke Fugate. Luke, welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thank you. Glad to be here.
We are very glad to have you. You are our first guest. Our midweek show got an overwhelming feedback, and I'll be honest, I really didn't expect that, but you're our first guest. And thank you very much for agreeing to be on the show. One of the things that I didn't know about you until a few months ago is that you have a YouTube page.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you want to, give us the URL or tell us how to find your YouTube page.
It's just Luke Fugate at Luke Fugate at YouTube.com. Just that takes you straight to it.
Well, I am very glad that Luke's a personal friend of mine. He's a YouTube rising star and inventor. And sometimes when I can't sleep of a night, I end up watching these Indian guys use these sticks and build pools and stuff like that. But one night I was on YouTube and just looking around, and I found your channel, and I think it was one of your solar panel projects that caught my attention. Actually, not the project, but who was hosting the show, and that was you. And I'm like, I know that guy. And that first night, I think I spent probably an hour watching some of your videos. So I probably,
that.
Well, you're very welcome. I was probably late for work, so my boss probably don't appreciate that too much that I found your channel. But one of the things that I was really fascinated by is how you took please jump in if I'm wrong, how you took an alternator and hooked it up to running water from a creek, and you were producing your own electricity with it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, it's just actually I kind of learned some of that from YouTube. Just kind of looking on there, and I mean, people have done it, but they use real expensive equipment, and it runs into the thousands of dollars for the stuff that they do. So I wanted to see if I could do it cheaply and just with stuff I had laying around.
Well, you were able to, in just that one video. I was fascinated in some of your other videos, and I mean, I was just amazed, and I've always knew you're smart, and I have told people, I think I even said on the midweek show, if there's anybody that could build a time machine, it would be you. We'll get to that in just a minute, but for years, for those of you that don't know, probably for the last 10 to 12 years, I've always aggravated Luke and told him to build us a time machine. We would go back in time. Luke, how did you get started in making YouTube videos? What was your motivation for making videos?
I think it was just, I've always built stuff and, did experiments, and it just kind of gives me a creative outlet that I can do this kind of stuff and actually have feedback, because I get comments, and actually one of the main reasons I even do YouTube is for that comment that says, "Thank you so much, you helped me out with this." I love that because, well, I like helping people,
Right. And that, that's obvious because you were in the military, And just some of your other videos I've seen are wind turbines, like I said, solar panels. They're how-to videos, how to change a flat tire without a jack. I mean, how did you think of coming up with that, how to change a flat tire without a car jack? Have you found yourself in that situation?
I did, and that was the only way that I was able to get home without destroying my rim. I kind of run it off the side of the road a little bit, and back tire popped right straight up. So there I went.
Where do you come up with your ideas for what you want to video and document?
A lot of it is just things that kind of just come about in my life. Like a project I'm working on right now is a device to make, I work in traffic control, and it's a device to make myself and the work crew safer by having an early warning system in case there's a work zone intrusion.
Well, that's fact. I'm sure you're not going to post that right now. You're going to not do what you did when you were in high school. You want to patent this thing first, correct?
Right. I'm going to at least get a provisional patent on it before I actually release any details.
Well, good. What's your favorite part of making the YouTube videos? What's the process that you use to make the videos?
Oh, I guess I just start working on stuff and filming different angles, and actually the process of filming kind of makes me do things. I don't know. I was always bad for like taking bad shortcuts and stuff, and now that I actually have an audience, I try to do things to where they actually work a little better. Maybe in case somebody else wants to try it, I don't want them to do something and it not work out, So I guess it actually makes me more, make better inventions, I guess.
Well, good, great. Now, you are on Here to Chew Bubblegum, and our first show, we've talked about two UFO cases that took place here in Kentucky. Now, I'm going to ask you some UFO questions, okay? And I assume that when you're in the military, you signed a non-disclosure form. Am I correct? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Without breaking that or giving anything away, have you ever saw an alien?
An alien? I haven't actually saw it. Alien?
Okay. Have you ever saw an unidentified flying object?
Yeah.
What did you see?
Like lights and stuff like that, just...
Now, was this when you were, like, on a military base, or is this after you got out of the military?
Actually, after I got out is when I you know, I mean, I saw some stuff in there, but like, you know, it's like I said, really, you know, there's stuff I can't really talk about.
Right.
But after I've gotten out of the military, I actually have seen lights and stuff like that. That, you know, it's kind of like, it's not a satellite because the satellite follows a straight orbit around. Couldn't be an airplane, and you know, because airplanes don't maneuver like that. And you know, so it has to be, you know, some other type of vehicle. You know.
All right. Well, do you believe that other life forms exist?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. And, you know, you said you couldn't say anything to break your non-disclosure form, but is the government technology farther advanced than what people think it is?
Some of the stuff that I seen when I was in there was pretty advanced.
Okay. All right. With the recent videos, you know, going back to April when the U.S. government disclosed that there's, you know, when they showed different videos and they said, you know, these are not man-made. Do you think that the government is preparing us to disclose information, or do you think that will ever happen?
I think if there is anything to disclose, I don't think it will be disclosed by the government. I think it would. The only way that they would actually admit it would be if they had no other choice, some sort of like irrefutable evidence that was seen by so many people that they can't refuse it.
Okay. Well, why do you think the government waited so long? I mean, one video was like almost 17 years old when they put it out. Why do you think that I mean, some people have said, you know, it was to get us away from the coronavirus and, you know, calm people who had problems in urban cities and stuff. Do you think that was a reason they were trying to distract us, or do you think that they're just really trying to be honest and say, you know, here's some video, we have something, we've had it for 17 years, we have no idea what it is?
I wouldn't really know.
You can plead the fifth on that. All right, let me ask you something easy. All right, do you think that aliens have been on this planet since 1947? I mean, do you think that it's possible? And an example of this would be like going back just a little bit, a few questions. We talked about modern technology. It had to come from somewhere. Do you think that it came from some species or someone that is not of this planet?
That is
You can plead the fifth on that one too if you want to.
Well, see, I really don't know, you know, but it does seem like our technology has advanced pretty quick, and it's like advancing at an accelerating rate. And I mean, some of the stuff that I do, you know, like with electronics, I don't see how they make the leap from one advancement to the next. I don't know.
I'm right there with you. I mean, you know, you look back, you know, 20 years ago, you know, I mean, in the 1990s, you know, I mean, you had dial-up internet, you know, I mean, it took us a long time for us to get dial-up internet, but I mean, look at how stuff fast is now. I mean, you know, we're kind of at the point where any information you want is right at your fingertips. I think that it's a good thing. You know, there's some other technology in like medical fields and stuff that I think that could advance us further, but you know, there's government restrictions and so forth that you can't do that. And you know, to me, I'm just mesmerized and fascinated by all this stuff. You know.
Yeah, there have been some leaps and bounds in technology, and you know, I mean, it had to come from somewhere.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you. Have you ever been to Roswell by any chance?
You kind of broke up there. What was that?
Have you ever been to Roswell, New Mexico by any chance?
No, I haven't. I would like to visit there, though. I know you can't get right close to it, but I would like to.
No. Well, me and my son drove out there last year. We landed in Dallas and rented a car and drove out. And I was just mesmerized by the hotel. I mean, it was just, we were doing typical tourist stuff, went to the little alien museum, and I was just totally mesmerized. And we actually went to the Air Force Base where, the material was allegedly taken to first. And if you ever get that chance, I know you like to travel because, ladies and gentlemen, this guy took an old school bus and turned it into a really nice motorhome. And he features it on his YouTube channel. And you've named it Zephyr, correct?
Yeah, right.
All right. And you need to check those videos out. If you could visit any planet, what would it be and why?
Oh, any planet?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. There's so many. I mean, inside of our own solar system, I would really like to check out Europa. I know it's not a planet, but
right,
another body. Because there's possibility of an ocean under the surface, and I'm thinking that years ago, maybe Mars might have actually been able to sustain life, so possibly Mars, but there's not much to see on Mars right now, I guess.
No. Well, go ahead and plug your YouTube channel again, and then I want to present you with a challenge.
Okay. Well,
okay.
Well, my channel, like I said, is Luke Fugate. I guess you'd call me a maker or an inventor or tinkerer. I just like to play around with stuff, and sometimes I get lucky and it works out.
What videos can we expect you to post next?
Well, with work right now, I'm still kind of busy, but I did put one up. Actually, it uploaded this morning. It's just kind of showing the fall colors, and there's a building up the holler that it's actually like a hunting blind, and I'm trying to see if anybody would like to see me maybe either do an overnight camping video there or maybe make it into some sort of a getaway cabin or something like that.
Well, I'm definitely going to check that out. Okay. Now, this next part, and I can send you the instructions. I will read them for the sake of the show when we're doing an audio interview, but I can send you these. But I want to challenge you to come back on our show. And what I'm going to challenge you with is this. It might sound a little bit crazy at first, but if there's anybody that can do it, I know it's you. Earlier in the interview, you even mentioned technology and the way that you work in electronics and stuff. So this should be right up your alley. And I would like to challenge you to try to build a radio that you can intercept future radio signals from. Okay, so basically, you've heard of the chronovisor, the TV that's supposed to give, you can watch history or future events. I would like to challenge you to build a radio that picks up future radio signals. Okay, how it works, the future radio signals are constantly being emitted into the present because of the vast amount of energy around radio signals. They're broadcast from a transmitter on a frequency for your car radio to receive it. So by building a solar receiver, you can do this. If a power source, you got to have a coil. You can cancel out the electromagnetic field from the power source. Let's see. And a lot of this stuff I'm reading is over my head. Like I said, I will text you this. They say that if you do this, then you cancel out the electric field from the power source and cancel out the magnetic field in the receiver, you should be able to receive radio signals by tuning the receiver on different frequencies to find the right one where you can pick up the future. Now, how far away? That's to be determined by you. Some people claim online that they've been able to do this and they can hear 3 weeks into the future. I don't know if that's true. Some people claim 2 months. Would you be interested in that challenge and trying to make and create something like that? And I can send you some specs that I have on it.
Well, I'm always eager. I'm always eager to learn new stuff. So I mean. Were you holding your laughter in as I was telling you about it? Actually, I've kind of heard of some of that. I don't know really how it would. I don't really know how it would actually receive the signal. I know that signals from the past would be easier.
Right.
Signals from the future, I have to do some research, but I mean, to me, and because I know you, by me mentioning this, I can tell that you are intrigued by this because you're already mentioning the ones from the past would be easier, which by me knowing you leads me to believe you've already thought of a way to do that, probably before I finish even reading the story. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why this guy is one of the smartest guys I've ever met. One of my only regrets is that I didn't sit closer to him in elementary school on test days. Wouldn't have done you much good. I didn't try very hard.
So that is something that you are intrigued about, and maybe you could work something up and, put it on your YouTube show and give us an interview and give us a shout out. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much once again, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking to Luke Fugate, YouTube how-to-doer, YouTube star in my book, and inventor and personal friend of mine. Luke, thank you for your time, and I really look forward to sending you these specs. And I'll be interested if you can build a radio that picks up the past, because then that means we just have to go forward and we can pick up the future. And if that happens, then lottery numbers, here we come, correct?
Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, Luke.
Oh, no problem.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back right after these messages on Here to Chew Bubblegum.
Do you have a Roku device? Do you want to escape the everyday? Then download the Edge TV. That is the Edge TV on your Roku device, spelled capital T, capital H, #3. Let James, Stacy, Greg, and the rest of the gang keep you entertained. The Edge TV, available now on Roku. And welcome back to HereToChewBubblegum.com. I'm definitely going to send Luke those specs to see if he can design a radio that will pick up future broadcast. Not yet made. Maybe we will get those winning lottery numbers. That's all for this week. I want to say thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and be on the lookout for the midweek show. Coming up in some shows, we'll be talking about time travel. We'll be talking about other dimensions, maybe Randonautica. That's a fad going on right now that I'm kind of fascinated in. Fell down the rabbit hole watching some of the YouTube videos. I want to give a special thanks to my friend Carlin for making the voiceovers and letting me use his music. The guys over at Edge TV, Stacy, James, Greg, and the rest of the gang. Wes Vance for helping me design a banner and some other stuff coming soon. You can check out Wes Vance as CK and Uncle Bill and ST3B at deadpit.com, and especially thanks to you listeners. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, email here to chewbubblegum at yahoo.com, shoot us a text or leave us a voicemail at area code 606-373-3396. We'll see you next week. Until then, have a great week.
Thanks for listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum. Tune in next time as we dive deeper into things the government doesn't want us to know.